All right. And we are live. I cannot tell you how incredibly excited I am. I know lots of you are saying, wait a minute, you look super familiar. We have with us the one and only Sharon Irving Cochran. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. This is the best, the
Thank
best.
you. Thank you. You're the best. I love
Oh, this
it.
has been a long time coming. I've got to tell you, I have been a huge fan of yours for over a decade. I won't say how long because it'll age both of us and it's none of your
Right.
business. But also, you just have this incredible ability to change the atmosphere, change how people think and how they process information and work together. So, for some of you who don't know Sharon, you might recognize her from America's Got Talent. She was the golden ticket winner. She recently just did the keynote for Salesforce, thesalesforce.com. She is a force to be reckoned with, influencing thousands and thousands a week, including myself, like I said, for over a decade. So I guess, Sharon, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you for that intro. I'm so honored to get to spend time and space with you. Um, I mean, you highlighted some things that I would probably highlight. So it's always nice when someone else can sing your praises.
You take it.
It's
Yeah.
always awkward when you talk about yourself. But yeah, I'm a girl from the South Side of Chicago, born and raised. And hearing you mention America's Got Talent, these are places and stages that I only dreamed of. I never thought I would actually be on a stage like that, coming from where I come from. I grew up in a very musical family. My father is a jazz legend. He musical directed for Miles Davis back in the day, and he's still active and on the scene, and he's doing his thing. And my mother sang in my grandfather's church. My grandfather marched with Dr. King and just was this powerful force during the civil rights era. Powerful force of good. He was a bridge builder. So I mean, I there's a legacy there, and so I'm grateful for that. But I think just coming from the South Side of Chicago, it keeps you humble. It keeps you in a certain mindset, and so ending up on AGT, America's Got Talent, receiving the golden buzzer, all of that, it's still really surreal when people talk about it. It just
Yeah.
doesn't seem real.
And then to see all the things you're doing now with IT companies, and we'll talk a little
Yes.
bit about that in a minute.
Yes.
And you've got a great Howie Mandel story that I want to touch on later too. We've got to talk about it because it's,
Yes.
again, how often do you have those kinds of stories?
It's,
So
it's so rare.
it is, right?
It's rare.
Yeah. So, I mean, out of all the stages that you've been on, like I said, you
Mm.
perform for thousands every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked offline a little bit about the power of art, and you saw some of this moving even for that recent keynote you did for Salesforce.
Yes.
What do you mean by power of art? Like, what does that even mean? What do you see?
Well, art for me, and I know for so many others, is a powerful, powerful force of good, of truth, um, of healing. And I really feel like we've seen that over the last 2, 3 years since 2020 until now. So many artists took a hit, myself included, during COVID and during all of the unrest in our world, but continue to persevere, continue to be resilient in the face of setbacks and gigs being canceled and work, coming to a pause. And so I think art is resilient. And for me, I have this phrase, and I know you've probably heard me say it a million times, that I'm more than just an artist. I'm more than just a singer, songwriter. I'm a shifter and changer of atmospheres. And as artists, there's power in the words that we speak, and the words that we sing, and the stroke of the brush, the creativity. It's more than entertainment, and it definitely has its place. It makes you feel good. It brings people together across color lines and different cultures and religions. But the power of art lies in its ability to shift the atmosphere, to change the completely change and transform a room that maybe felt like, man, the energy and the frequency is just low and people are just done with life. It had the ability for art to lift us, to inspire us. Those of us who don't claim to be singers or, artists, I think we all are creatives in our own way. We're all creating something, whether it's a spreadsheet or creating a workshop or creating a business plan. And so I think art is this tool that can really like activate that part in your brain, that creativity, and unlock it and just like take you to new heights. And so I could obviously talk about the power of art for hours on end, but yeah, those are just some things that come to mind when I think about the power of art. And I'll end with this: the power of art. You look back during the civil rights era, during some of these moments in time where people were like mobilizing, like artists really led the way. Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, even Frank Sinatra. I've learned so much about his life in the last year and things that he stood for that people don't really know about, and how he used his music to open doors for his Black brothers and sisters. And so there's just, I think art can really mark a movement in time. And ultimately it's healing. And that's what I hope to do when I sing, when I speak, is to heal people through my words, through the songs that I sing, and leave them better than when they showed up to wherever I'm singing or speaking. Yeah.
And I've seen you do that. I've been part of that audience numerous times where it changes. You might have come in there's a lot going on right now.
Yes.
There's so much unrest, and every weekend there's a new tragedy, and it's almost unbearable sometimes. And art has this way of neutralizing us and bringing us into a new headspace and kind of wrapping us together. I'm an immigrant, and my first language was German. I was born in Germany, and my grandfather, who only spoke German at the time, would crank, American gospel music.
Oh, I
And
love
he
it.
just kind of cry. He didn't even speak the language. He had no idea, but it moved his heart.
Yes.
And I think what you've been able to do, and you've even talked about, including what you did with Salesforce, how it moved people in the audience. And it brought them together, and it changes your headspace. It doesn't remove maybe some of the trauma, but it bonds us in ways that allows us to be creative,
Right,
and work together in more innovative ways than we could have when we weren't maybe brought to that neutral kind of place together. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yes. I experienced that with, you mentioned Salesforce and the big Dreamforce event that I got to do in 2022, I believe. Time is just all running together. And I'm pregnant, so my brain is like...
Yes, you are Wonder Woman. For everyone
I
wondering,
am, yes.
I found her. She's right here.
I've got two brains right now, I guess. So yeah, I experienced that with Salesforce, and that was a very different space from a lot of the spaces that I've been able to, do my thing in, and a room full of brilliant thinkers and globally, just they streamed it all over. And I mean, very nerve-wracking because here I am, like, I'm not a tech person, and I don't do some of the complicated things that this group of people do. But it was such an honor. I got to write and curate a piece all around equity, health equity. And it really was a personal journey for me, right? I had about a month or less to put it together. And wow, it was definitely a lot of research involved. I was able to tap into my experience growing up on the South Side and seeing some of the inequities and disparities in my community, and highlighting those, and also highlighting what many of us, regardless of where we come from, deal with, and especially now, people are struggling, and there's a lot of there's just poor access to things, and It's a lot. So how do you put all that in a under 5 minute piece? you know,
Right,
how do you,
right.
and it was the keynote opener, so there's no pressure, right? Like we're like opening the
It's
entire,
one of the largest companies in the world.
and I
Excellent.
didn't realize how big it was. And again, it's just that feeling of how did I end up? How does a girl from the South Side end up in a space like this? Um, And so, but I experienced it in that moment when I'm looking out and I'm seeing people who are like with tears in their eye coming up to me afterwards. And they're like, I don't normally cry at events like this or feel moved in this way. Every year we have this event, but this was the first year we had like an art piece. And it
Yeah.
just, and then once I was done, they kicked off into the speakers, into some of the like logistical, but it totally like, I feel like it just lifted the room. And so to see everybody like step into their specific role
Yeah.
and you know, in ways like the other speaker, she said to me after, she's like, I've never felt like such a boost and a lift. Like normally I'm giving this slide presentation and it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are like, all right, when is lunch, you know? So that was really cool to see how just the power of one voice, the power of art in a space that isn't isn't really art, you know, it's not a room full of artists, but just to see like those worlds collide
Man.
and bring people together and yeah, pull on their heartstrings in a way that opens them up to maybe hear and receive the messages from others in a way that maybe
Right.
they wouldn't be open. They might be on autopilot. I think art kind of is like, it's like a jolt. It's like a little bit
Yeah.
of caffeine for your brain to be able to receive information
Yeah.
on a different level,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So yeah,
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And like I said, I've been part of it. I've seen the audiences move and thousands of people, not just these tiny little. So to hear you so humbly say, how did someone like me show up on these stages? And I'm like, because you're insanely talented. I mean,
thank
you're
you.
hands down one of the top 5 most talented people. And
Hmm.
I've talked to some incredible people, both in my lives and just throughout my career and part of what I fortunately, get to do
Yeah.
every day. But your ability to help, like you said, bring people, massive audiences together remotely, in person. And, as somebody who goes to lots of tech conferences,
Right.
I love seeing this shift because we do get a lot of PowerPoints. We do get a lot of
Yes.
spoken to. And I don't think I would be the first person to ever agree that sometimes you show up to these things
Yeah.
on autopilot. I think that was a very wise way to say it. We do. And
Yeah.
then you're just kind of going through the motions. And the neuroscience alone says that maybe you remember 30% of what you heard.
Wow.
That's not a lot when you're
Not a
days and
lot.
days on end. So for you to be able to level set and come out better than when you came in, that's what these companies want to do. They're trying to build better cultures. They're being conscious about diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're being conscious about reaching the human side of their
Yes.
talent, wherever you are in that talent. So maybe speak to us a little bit about what you're doing now in IT. And then you also touched on something around imposter syndrome. So I want to like squeeze that into because I would love your guidance there. But first, I want to know because a lot of the audience here are, executive leadership
Yeah.
across IT. If they're looking to do something different or they're trying to motivate their team, or what are some things that you're seeing work? What are some things that you're seeing that you're doing now that you go, yeah, this is what's helping these kinds of teams?
Wow. That's a great question. Ah, I so much. I wish we had a whole hour. But no, this is great. I mean, just again, the experience that I had with Salesforce at Dreamforce, that was for me like the first. I mean, I won't say the first corporate event that I've been a part of. I've done work with different companies, Amway, and usually I'm singing, right? Usually I'm singing and I bring a guitarist or a keys player, and that really moves a room and prepares people for what's to come, and is a great way to cleanse the palate, open the mind, unlock innovation and new pathways of thinking. But I also, I've seen one of the first workshops I got to do was in a room full of, again, a room full of tech folks. And I don't remember exactly what specific area they were skilled in, but I did a whole like 2-hour workshop on songwriting. And it was, you might think, wow, okay, this doesn't really, why songwriting for this group? But when I tell you, you'd be surprised at how many people grew up sang in a choir at some point, or, oh, I used to play this instrument. You know what it's really, really cool to hear people that are like, I don't do it now. I haven't picked it up in years, but I loved playing the guitar. I loved playing the drums, and so it's like unlocking that little kid inside. And we did this 2-hour writing session, a songwriting session, and we wrote a song together, which was really, really neat. And it was actually a really good song. And it just really, again, I think the feedback that I received is that this really helped this group of people who work in this company, and they see each other, and some of them don't really interact as much, like that team bonding. If people aren't having fun, if they're like, I don't want to see this coworker, they're less likely to want to be at work and want to give it their all. And so the feedback that I received was, hey, this really like boosted the team morale. It boosted just the ability to like work with each other and step out of the office, and get out of tunnel vision and really join together. Yeah. And so that was really, really great to hear. Just to hear that alone was really encouraging for me. And so I try to keep note, and just, I'm an artist, but I also am a researcher. I love data. I love facts. I love hearing like this worked specifically in this way. And so I love hearing that kind of thing. And I love being stretched and feedback. I know some artists are like, don't tell me anything about myself. And, I mean, there's some, if I'm working on a project and I'm like, I know what I want, and the vision is clear. Yeah. You get really, but I'm just one of these people. I'm open, and I love learning from people who don't do what I do, if that makes sense.
And they get to see you in these workshops collaborate. They get to see it from a different perspective. And I could see why a team exercise like that would work, because now it's not so work focused. So now you're just working on the skills of working together as a team, as opposed to now pulling in egos because I own this line of business. And no, this is my fiefdom, or this is my whatever. So I could see why that taking it away from the IT side of things, but being more team building.
Yes.
So, okay. So more like team building type workshops. I know you do a lot of spoken word as well. And I've seen it even with like the Global Leadership Summit. I've been going forever too. I mean, that draws in global leaders from, I mean, how many, like 37 countries, something wild like that.
Yes. Crazy.
I think Condoleezza Rice is speaking this year. That's where I met Simon Sinek a couple years ago, and Chris Voss. And so with some of the greatest leaders in our time that I can remember, and some more really fun ones coming even soon. So you've been able to see how art moves even massive conferences like that, and being able to see how then that sets the tone for those, maybe motivational speakers or for technical leaders to come in and say, in fact, I remember we had one year, it was the guy, he's at Cheetos now, or Lay's, or whoever owns them. But he came up with do you remember he came up with the Fire Hot Cheetos or whatever? Do you remember that one?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Wasn't that a good one? Yeah.
Yes. Wasn't there a movie? Well, yes, I remember that.
There's a movie right now that's out
right
about
now.
it. So unbelievable speakers in IT. In fact, I think it was the former CISO of Boeing was one of the speakers as well. We've had some really cool speakers, and
amazing.
Like I said, you've been part of that creative team, and I've seen you collaborate and then set the tone, set the atmosphere. So it's been really powerful to see some of those things, and I'm excited to see where you go next.
Thank you. Yes, same. I'm excited. I'm excited to continue to walk this path and step out of my comfort zone and do it afraid. That's one of my mantras. Do it afraid. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
anybody who's following me knows I'm very into fear lately.
Yes.
It's kind of becoming fun, but I'm still
Yes.
constantly terrified.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, it is terrifying, but it's normal. I think you talk about imposter syndrome. It's also remembering that like it's normal to feel self doubt, insecure, and questioning. Am I out of my league? Those are so normal. Those are just human. It's human.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you know what? Maybe that's because I know we're just at time,
I
but
know
I
we're
think
at
it's a great way
time.
to end because you told me about something Howie said to you, Howie Mandel, when you were on America's Got Talent. You got the golden ticket, which, everybody has to buzz and, award you and everything. But he said something to you. And then I want to understand because you sing, I mean, that must have been in front of millions. That was
Yeah,
easily millions, right? If not multiple millions.
it was
How
yes.
do you deal with imposter syndrome? What do you do? So maybe tell us that story and then we'll close on imposter syndrome.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, I mean that moment. First of all, I was nervous as like I was nervous. It's one shot, and completely felt. I felt like just all the flood of emotions and human emotions that you expect to feel. And I think you just have to kind of like the minute I start to feel those things. Of course, there's some practices that I do, deep breathing.
Uh-huh.
Even throughout this, I have to remember I'm excited talking to you, but I have to remember to breathe and like, okay, let me think about, I can take a minute, I can take a beat. If it take, well, I didn't have a minute. I had to kind of go. It was go time. But if
Yeah.
you can, I think just breathing and remembering to like focus on your breath and also to remind us, I think just continually reminding ourselves that this is normal. I'm not alone. Some of the
Mm,
people that I look up to that just seem like so sharp and just they're always just on it. They deal with this too. That
yeah.
kind of helps normalize some of that imposter syndrome feeling. Um, and then, I mean, my faith plays a huge role in it. I pray a lot. I meditate. But I talk it through. I talk it through, and I do it afraid. I don't
Yeah.
always. I can't wait. Life is like a flash. I can't wait for the fears to subside. To go for it.
Yeah.
Therapy has helped. But all of that is it's a combination of practices and work that intentional work that
Yeah.
I've done to combat imposter syndrome, but it's very real. And I've struggled with insecurities my whole life. And I know what it's like. I've struggled with generalized anxiety disorder. And so when I get up to sing and it's like, gosh, you're powerful. You don't seem like you're nervous at all. It really is. It's a miracle. It's a miracle, but it partially just going through the fear, stepping to the mic, stepping to the platform, and just taking that space. Yeah, you got to just walk through it. And I
Yeah.
know it's easier said than done for so many of us. And so I want to acknowledge that. Um, but we can be really hard on ourselves, and
Yeah.
that's not relatable.
Right.
Even today, I'm sure I'm going to get off of here and think, oh, I should have said that. And it robs you of that feeling of, hey, like, cool out. Just
Right.
this, you're human. Um, and hopefully people feel your heart and soul. If your heart and soul are in the right place, it's, you know, no matter what flubs you make or, you know, speech thing you had going on, stuttering, it's okay. It's okay. People feel the heart and the soul.
Yeah.
That's what matters. That's what matters.
You
So,
hit a couple things that I want to really make sure do not get missed. I want to applaud you because I don't even think you did it so effortlessly and naturally that I don't even notice that. I don't even think you noticed
mm,
that you're so genuine, you're so transparent that you were even willing to say, "Hey, I struggle with generalized anxiety." So thank you for talking about your own mental health because 99.999 of us are terrified to admit that we're human, are terrified to
yeah.
admit that we're allowed to have feelings
Yeah.
and that it's okay to have feelings. Just because we see this unbelievably talented you come up there and it does look so effortless. It does look so, and you've got all these people cheering you on and crying and waiting to talk to you and all these things that you go through the same things. And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many CEOs, CFOs, CROs. I was just on the phone with, I think they're the 5th or 4th largest company in the world. They're CXO. I won't give it away because a lot of people have seen them. But let's just say CXO. This person
Yeah.
makes millions of dollars a year. They are doing just fine. And this person, I won't even identify their gender because then it'll really become easy, was telling me just how nervous they get with these,
Wow.
we're working in prepared
Really?
for one of their big keynotes and everything, one of their big speeches. And it's like, you're on the top of the world. What are you worried about? So the fact that you can come out here and say, hey, I've got this, I deal with this, I go to therapy. Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
There's also this weird kind of movement right now that I hope takes over that just says therapy is good.
Yeah.
For everyone, even
Yes.
before bad things happen.
Yes.
It's supposed to grow. That's how you know you're human.
Yes.
And last, you said something, show up scared. Find your fear forward and show up, terrified and all.
That's
The
right.
more you do scary things, the more your brain lets you do scarier things.
Yes.
And if you don't just show up, you're going to live in fear. You're never going to be ready.
Yeah.
And when you said that, it was like fireworks. I'm like, yes,
Yes.
this isn't hurt.
Thank
you
you.
for your honesty, because people need to hear it, that we feel this at all levels. We see someone like you and we go, she's got it. Of course, Sharon can do it. Millions of people love her. It's like, no, she still has stuff.
I still have stuff. And I'm growing even as a businesswoman. I'm learning from people like you. I never saw myself as that. And I have a little bit of this entrepreneur in me that's like trying to figure out how to find her way.
Yeah.
So that's like probably my area where I'm like, ooh, where I feel it the most, because it's not but I'm like, yeah, I have ideas and business ideas that I just want to actualize. But
right.
I feel it when I'm stepping into the business and the entrepreneur, and we've talked. I'm like, I need to pick your brain, because it's a different world, but it's in me, and so yeah.
Well, I got you, and we are going to follow you. Yeah. We want to see the whole journey. We want to see from ideation to growth to one day when you hire me to be your janitor.
Oh my God.
Your best janitor you've ever hired. It'll be so good. For folks like looking to find out more, who want to hire you, who want to collaborate with you, where do they find you? Where can they get in touch with you?
Yes, I'm really accessible on all the socials, primarily Instagram. I love Instagram. It's at Sharon Irving Music, SharonIrving Music. Twitter, which I think is called something else now.
X now?
At Sharon Irving. I'm also on Facebook. I have music available on all the streaming platforms, YouTube. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find, I think. And my website is SharonIrving.com. And I just dropped a series of films, spoken word films, that people can license for their events. The piece that I mentioned, the equity piece, that is available on my website for licensing, and they're done beautifully. I partnered with an amazing filmmaking team, a media team, and they so graciously partnered with me to create 15, I think, spoken word films. So now if I can't be there in person, you can use the media of video, and they're really, really powerful. I'm really proud of how they turned out. So you can find those on the website, SharonIrving.com.
All right. And I will drop those in the description
below
as well, and make sure everybody has that. If you are on LinkedIn, of course, you can find her on LinkedIn, and I will tag you on LinkedIn, as well, because we get about maybe 25 to 35,000 views on LinkedIn alone. LinkedIn's pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So
awesome.
Thank you. Your honesty, your transparency is unparalleled, truly. And you're so humble. You're so talented. And I just appreciate you as a human. Thank you for what you're doing, what you're bringing, for continuing the already insanely powerful legacy that you were part of. You are a voice of love and reason and just wonderfulness. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate you so much. And I am so grateful for this opportunity to get to share. Thank you.
We're going to be watching you. If you're not following Sharon already, follow her now.
Yes.
We're going to see.
I'd love to hear from
even bigger things ahead.
Yes, I received that.
You're like, all right, I'm in.
Let's go.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye.